Two things actually.
Can you hear me correctly? Yeah. Oh, that's great. Fantastic. And no echoes. Thanks for that. I'd just like to begin by just telling you a little story. In our travels, we love to learn about different cultures and different customs. And something that happened in Shiraz I'll just relate to you. We were in Shiraz, and it was across Novruz, and there were people from all over Iran in Shiraz. And often I'd see girls looking at me, and I'd look at them and I'd smile, and then they'd say, "Oh, could we please take a photo?" I'd say, "Sure." So they took photos of us, and we took photos of them. And so that was fun, and they were really lovely. On one particular occasion, I said to the girl afterwards, "Oh, you have a beautiful scarf. It's really lovely." And she said, "You can have it." And of course I said, "Oh, no, it's okay." But I was thinking afterwards, I was quite shocked. I thought, if she gives me her headscarf, she's got no headscarf, and she has to be covered. And then afterwards, we explained to our friends, and they said, "Oh, that's Tarof." So this was interesting, just to learn another culture, another custom. Another time we were in a shop with my husband, and we were bargaining. This is in Zanjan, bargaining for something. And Vijay, my husband, bargained down, got the good price and everything. So this went on for some time. Actually, we did it before lunch, had lunch, came back, and we said, "All right, what's your best price?" He gave us the best price. And then my husband gets the money out to pay him. He gives my husband the change, and then he says, "Oh, don't pay me." and we just thought, "Oh my goodness, that's really amazing." But of course, it's Tarof again. And yeah, it's a very interesting custom, very, very nice actually, to try and be so polite that, you can have it for free. In Australia, this would never happen. It's very interesting for us, to learn these customs, and it's been one of the pleasures of travelling throughout Iran. Yes, I know. I've since learned that. But it's so funny, at the end of the transaction, "Oh, no, you can have it." But of course he wasn't serious, and then, "Oh, no, here it is. Oh, no, yes, oh, you must take the money." So anyway, it's quite lovely. So, today's presentation is on assessment. It's on general assessment, but also a lot of it relates to Ielts, because I know even if you're teaching lower level students, quite often they will be leading towards doing Ielts in the future, so it's good. And also, I think Ielts is a good assessment. It teaches you a lot about assessment. Okay, so today we're just going to talk about different English testing systems. There are quite a lot of them. The speaking test, this is more specifically for Ielts. The writing test, and activities and techniques, and websites. And then we've got questions at the end. Okay. So some people ask me, "Oh, what's the trick to passing Ielts?" Because they know I've been an Ielts examiner for 10 years. So there's actually, they ask me for hints and tips and luck. It's actually not a matter of luck. It's actually a matter of, it's an English test, and that may sound obvious, but it's testing your skills of listening, speaking, reading, and writing. So I can give you lots of tips today, which I hope you find helpful, but it's actually a matter of improving those 4 skills, and so that's the trick, if there's a trick. Okay, there are many English language testing systems, and I think there are others, but here are some of them. The one that I'm more qualified for is Ielts, and the benefit of doing an Ielts test as opposed to a lot of the others is that Ielts has a face-to-face speaking test. A lot of the others, it's all online, and a computer will test your speaking, which I find a bit strange, but with a one-on-one test, and you're doing a test with a real person, and you can have some non-verbal communication, you can smile, the examiner can smile, it can make you feel more relaxed. Whereas I think if you're speaking into a computer, it's a little be a little bit stressful, but most examiners are quite nice. And I think if you do an Ielts test and do a speaking test, I think one of the tricks is to try and you have maybe half a minute, 1 minute to establish some relationship with the examiner before you get to the examination room. So, you smile, you try and talk to them about something. The weather is a fantastic topic because it's not personal. Just try and establish some sort of friendship, friendly relationship with the examiner. I think that's a really good idea. So, now, to the speaking test. A lot of students get very nervous about the speaking test, but just try and tell your students to try and relax a little bit with it, because the examiners are friendly, and if you've done preparation, as I'm sure every Ielts candidate would have prepared well for the speaking test, so just try and relax and the hint is to try and speak as much as possible. If the examiner asks you a question, try not just to say yes, no. Try and answer in part one in 2 or 3 sentences. So the examiner, it's an easier test. If you answer in 2 or 3 sentences, it's showing that you have fluency, that you have vocabulary, that you are able to speak English. Some people come in and they treat it like it's an interview or something. I'm wanting information. I'm not really wanting information from people. I'm wanting to hear their speaking. I'm wanting to hear their fluency, their vocabulary, their grammar and their pronunciation. And that's basically, as an examiner, what I'm listening for. Of course I am listening to content, but to me that's secondary. I'm not closely listening to content. I'm focusing, first of all, on their fluency, and I'm listening for vocabulary, grammar and pronunciation. So those 4 things are the most important. And I say except for levels 8 and 9. When you get to levels 8 and 9, the speaking must be more in-depth. So you must give more in-depth answers, especially in the part 2 and the part 3 especially. More in-depth answers, comprehensive answers to the questions, not just superficial answers. But below that, from 7 below, the most important thing is to speak. And that's why I chose this picture. I thought this is perfect. It just shows her speaking. Just talk as much as you can. So that's the most important thing. So, this is part 2. So part 1 is considered the easiest part of the speaking test because they're short answers. The only thing I'll say is in part 1, the examiner must choose 3 sections. So if, for example, he or she asks you, do you like museums? And you say, no, I don't like museums. The examiner must ask you 3 more questions about museums. So do you see how it's very hard for you to start speaking about museums if you have already said you don't like them? So if possible, it's best to answer the question positively. Or you could say, if you really hate them, oh, I don't particularly like museums. However, I have been to a couple of museums which I found very interesting, something like that. But if you answer no, it's very hard. It's hard for you and it's hard for the examiner because he or she has to try and get you to speak for the next 3 questions. And you only have 3 parts, 3 blocks of questions in part 1. And every time they ask you a question, it's an opportunity for you to show your speaking skills. So that's a little tip. Now in part 2, you need to practice the 2 minutes. A lot of students, or enable your students to practice part 2. A lot of students find it hard to get to 2 minutes. So one of the great tips is to have a mobile phone. They'll have recorders on them. And so to tell the students to record themselves for 2 minutes on different topics, and if they can't get to 2 minutes, to keep practicing, because it is a skill that you can practice. And I've had students who just can hardly get to 1 minute, but then after practice at home with recorders, they can get to 2 minutes. And the more you can feel confident about reaching 2 minutes, the more you can relax and focus on speaking. If students get stuck like they're in the pub, and you don't have to worry about timing, because the examiner will say, thank you, the time's up. So you don't need to worry, oh, what's the time? Don't look at a clock, just keep talking until the examiner says, thank you. And that's the key to stop. An example, if the students get to 1 minute and they're stuck, oh, what am I going to say? Here's a for example. So if you're asked about, say, for example, a restaurant, please talk about a restaurant you like going to, and you have to speak for 2 minutes. So you speak for 1 minute about restaurants and you think, oh, what am I going to say? Then you say, oh, for example, last week I went with my family to a fantastic restaurant. There was music, we had kebabs, we had this, we had that. So if you say, for example, that can enable you to go on for another minute. And if that example's finished, you can use another example. So that's a really good tip to extend the speaking to 2 minutes if your students are having trouble getting to 2 minutes. So with the 3 points, as you know, with the arts test, you've got 3 points. You don't have to cover the 3 points. They're there to help you. So when you've got the 1 minute to prepare, look at the 3 points, and then that gives you hints to what you can talk about. But if you finish the test and you think, oh no, I only covered 2 points, it doesn't matter. Because as an examiner, I'm not looking, oh, I only did 2 points. I really don't care. I just want to know, basically you're talking on the topic, and that you're talking for 2 minutes, and as I mentioned before, I'm listening for your fluency. Sometimes I don't even look at the person, I look down, so I can fully just concentrate on what they're saying. I'm listening for fluency, and vocabulary, grammar, and pronunciation. That's what basically I'm listening for. If I think it's a high-level candidate, I am also focusing on the development of the topic. If they're developing the topic well, extending the topic. Okay, so when you record yourself for the 2 minutes, try and focus on your fluency, and then you can check yourself. One way to check fluency is how many times is the person saying, for example, I went to the beach and then I had a swim, and so every time you say your fluency is affected. So try and avoid saying that. The other thing is, it doesn't matter what you say, because a lot of people say they're focusing on content, and they say something like, oh, I went on a picnic to, can't remember where it was, and meanwhile, they're saying so many times, and I'm thinking, yeah, it's going down, the mark's going down. So it doesn't matter. I went on a picnic, you can't remember the place, oh, to a lovely place, etc., etc. Just try not to focus on details, because the examiner doesn't care, where you went on the picnic or which restaurant you went. They really don't care. All they want, as I said, focusing on your fluency. So just try and tell your students just to keep talking. Also, it's imagination. You can use your imagination. It's not an interview for a job. If you went for an interview to Mark, you would have to be honest, right? You couldn't say, oh, I've been teaching in Australia for 10 years, if it's not true, because he could check. But this is not an interview for a job, or it's not a police interview, so it doesn't matter if you make something up. Just use your imagination. Some students have told me, oh, it's easier if I tell the truth. Okay, that's fine, but you can also add a few things. If you feel like it, if you want to make it longer, or just for an example, you could make something up. Okay, so focusing on fluency, linking words. Linking words are very important. Things like, I've got 3 linking words on the board, in addition, furthermore, etc. All these linking words help to make language cohesive, and so they're also listening to those words in order to get a higher level. As I mentioned, vocabulary, grammar, and pronunciation. Okay, so we're going to do a little activity now, so to wake you all up. Okay, so if again, that it's really a fantastic thing. You can do it in any class. You can do it at the beginning of the class, in the middle of the class, at the end. It's fantastic and it's really, really great for IELTS preparation. So we're going to form two lines like this. Two people along here. People facing each other as in the picture. And you need to talk to your partner for 2 minutes. Well, we might just make it 1 minute each, because otherwise it will take too long, it'll be here too long. And then there's going to be an online timer to tell you when the 2 minutes is up. And then at the end of the 2 minutes, we'll have two lines. So the person from this line, the end person, will come down to the end here, and everybody will move down, so that you're facing a new partner. So that's what will happen. And so we'll be changing partners and changing topics. And all these will be typical IELTS topics for the part 2. So, here's our first topic, okay? We'll have that in a minute. So if everybody could please stand up and form two lines. Actually, to mix it up, we'll have all the boys along one line here. If you could, the young men to come along here. And the girls on the other side. And if we've got more girls, doesn't matter. So, you must be facing someone, please. Facing someone. So, you need to... Don't be frightened, the girls are okay. There you go. You could do it for 1 minute if you want, or you can do it with low level, high level, and it's great for IELTS. All these topics were sort of typical kind of topics we would use for the part 2 when speaking of IELTS. We've had 2 more, but I'll show you the topics. A restaurant you go to regularly, and something you'd like to learn in the future. So just 2 other topics.
That's my specialty.
Okay, so at the end of, now we're on to part 3, so of the speaking test. So at the end of part 2, the examiner will say a rounding off question, which should be short, and then they will say something like, oh, now we've been talking about, for example, a cultural activity in your country, and I'd like to ask you another few questions about this. So while the examiner is saying that, that will last about 30 seconds, you should be brainstorming, just thinking of all the possibilities of what they could ask you. So if it was about a cultural event, say with novels, obviously probably you would choose that, but you'll be thinking about cultural events. All right, what is she or he going to ask me?